I'm Philippe Honoré. I play the violin, obviously. I was born and raised in Lyon, and I moved to Paris to go to the conservatoire. So I was still quite young, and I had a great teacher there who basically built my technique, but not only that, he sort of gave me the tools to work by myself also, I think, which is very important. Quite often I can see now that I'm teaching, young people expect you to tell them everything, or to tell them, I think what is really important with young people is to actually teach them how to practice, how to start a new piece, how to analyze a new piece. And then he really all his teaching was about looking at the music first without even the violin. I was very lucky in that sense that he was constantly making us question why we were doing it. So I didn't feel like he was sort of spoon feeding me and telling me this is the way to do it. He was sort of opening my mind.
안녕하세요. 저는 바이올리니스트 백세은이고요. 서울대학교 음악대학에서 학사를 졸업하고 이제 뉴욕 줄리어드에서 석사 과정을 마친 후에 지금 스토니브룩 뉴욕 주립대학교에서 박사 과정 중에 있습니다. 바하 무반주 소나타 1번 G 마이너 1악장 아다지오와 2악장 후가이고요. 이제 무반주 곡이다 보니까 반주 있는 곡에 비해서 이제 혼자 바이올린이 하면서 그런 텍스처적으로 비어 보이거나 좀 허전해 보이지 않게 다채롭게 채워가는 그런 게 조금 까다로운 부분이고요. 일악장 아다지오 같은 경우에는 이제 바하 이전 작곡가들은 간단하게 이제 심플하게 화성만 놓고 표기를 하고 이제 그 사이사이의 음들은 연주자들이 즉흥적으로 많이 채우는 경우가 많았는데 이제 바하는 그거를 한음 다 표기를 했다 보니까 그 작곡가의 의도를 지키는 게 되게 중요한 곡이라고 생각을 하고 이 악장 후가 같은 경우에는 이제 다성부 폴리포니로 이제 되어 있는 곡인데 여러 성부의 그 각각의 서브젝트가 나올 때마다 그 성부를 잘 살리면서도 또 그 순간순간마다 그 화음이 어우러질 수 있게 같이 신경을 쓰는 게 굉장히 어려운 곡이라고 생각을 합니다.
Bravo, bravo, really well done. Beautiful playing, really beautiful playing. Lot of things that I really liked in both the adagio and the fugue. I really like the. Let's deal with each other and then we'll work a little bit on it on them individually. But I really like the adagio. I really like your pace actually, because it's quite easy to get stuck. And you were never stuck, you were always sort of moving forward, which was really great. From the start, I really like your pace. And also, I thought you dealt very well with was your sound production at all times. It was rich, it was resonant without feeling being forced. And again, that's something which is not easy to do in Bach. So all your chords were really well controlled. I think where you can probably a little bit explore slightly differently is when you deal with the chords actually, to vary a little bit more the way you're going to approach each chord. So for me, Bach's music is all about tension and release. Yeah, so you have certain chords which are dominant seventh, or quite often we land on seventh, and then an appoggiatura going into a sixth. I felt that some of them could be a little bit more exaggerated, so to give a little bit more sort of something a little bit more dramatic without using so much the vibrato. Yeah, so I think you can replace a little bit sometimes the use of your vibrato by varying a little bit the way you take the chords. I think that's very important. In the fugue, again, really, really well done. I just thought you need to be a little bit careful the way. So you started to play bowing out. So you did a, and then, which is fine, lots of people do it. But then, in some places when you had chords, yeah. So I think you have to take one position or another. Either you're going to do it all as it comes, which is absolutely fine, and lots of people do it, or if you mix both, some people also do it, make sure that it sounds exactly the same. Yeah. So the subject, which is the name for the theme, should always be phrased exactly the same, whether you play at the beginning with single notes, whether you've got double stops or chords, which is one of the difficulties. So I think that just be a little bit careful. It only happened about 3 or 4 times. Yeah, when you started to ta pa pa, and these sounded very short to me. Yeah. What else in the fugue? Again, I thought your pace was really good. I just wonder whether within each subject, how you saw the phrasing within each phrase, each subject.
In fugue?
Yeah, in the fugue. It's a very short phrase, yeah? But for me, within that very short bar and a half, we still have direction, and I felt sometimes, for me...
I think it's going to the dum bum 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 da da dum.
Exactly,
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. But it didn't always sound like that. Quite often you were actually, I completely agree, you were phrasing to the end of it. So I heard sometimes... You went all the way here, I would not, or... Every time you go tem pam pam pa, and then you retrieve. Yeah. So it's easy to do at the beginning, like I've just done. It's slightly more complicated when you've got all the chords. Yeah. So maybe we can work a little bit on that. But let's go back to the adagio first. Yeah, really, really well done. And all your connections are very smooth and really, really well controlled. Well done. So this is quite significant, this piece, because what is it? It's the first movement of the first sonata, and it opens, as you know, I mean, I'm not going to tell you about the history of these, but they were really experimental. Nobody had ever written anything like this, with fugues, you know, contrapuntic music for a solo instrument like the violin. So it's really quite a statement. So always bear that in mind when you start this adagio, that the first chord, G minor, is going to open is going to take us to an incredible journey. So even with this short phrase, so you start obviously in G minor, then you go straight away to the dominant. So I just want to wear still the same chord. So this one, still the same chord. So I would not necessarily release so much on between. So you still keep the tension. You still keep the tension, and then the release is going back to the tonic. So. This is the release, yeah? So you've gone basically not in a very long time from the tonic, a little bit towards the minute, and then you still stay on the tonic. So bear that in mind. Don't release too much after basically your first venture to the tonic, yeah? To the dominant, sorry. Maintain the tension. And beautiful. Yeah. So really well done. Really well done. You could have controlled a little bit better going to here. Yes, here. But otherwise it was really well done. When you arrive here, I think the way you play it, where we just so you play this one quite dramatic, and I agree, but I think the next one is also interesting because we've got this dissonance with the set. So I would really insist on this, and again, not with the vibrato, but a little bit more the way you're going to approach the string. So when you've got something like this, think more. I mean, sometimes when I revisit these things, I practice them all without any vibrato, and I try to be expressive using other ways. So the other way we can use is the only other way. The other thing we can use is our bow. So really experiment the way you're going to use your speed. Have you ever seen viola da gamba players? Yeah, I mean it's beautiful to watch. There's a real sort of fluidity the way they approach the sound, and it's almost like they draw the sound from their instrument. Yeah, so by doing this, it's almost like they draw the sound towards the audience. So bear that in mind a little bit. And for the moment, not that I don't want you to play with vibrato. Yeah, I think it would be almost like too much of a gimmick. But for the moment, try to use less vibrato and explore a little bit how you can be expressive with other means. Yeah, so directly from so, la, si, do, re, mi. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. To me, instantly, it sounds more dramatic. Do you agree or not?
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, this is really something that you need to explore. You can reintroduce slowly, and you did reintroduce a little bit of vibrato, and I have nothing against that. but really try to approach it a different way. It really takes, sometimes it takes, about a day to readjust and think, how am I going to do this? But I mean, you did it instantly, which is great. But this is really one way of making it work for me. Now, where we arrive, I think this is quite interesting. So for me, where you just arrive here, question mark, yes, it stays suspended. So a new section, I would not necessarily connect this is a new phrase. Breathe and then what's happening here? I'm sure you've worked it out. What's happening? There's something quite interesting to do with the notes at the bottom, which you could almost treat like basses. What it does, and it's not by chance, because with Bach everything is planned, there's a lot of logic. So what's happening is this. F, then
the voice. Okay,
E,
sorry.
then all the way. So you've got a descending scale, and on top of that, you've got the melody. So treat them a little bit like separate things. So almost like two voices talking to each other and forming somehow organically this beautiful melody. So I would again treat all these basses a little bit more with the bow speed and the tension that you can put into them. So again, and again you arrive on a 7, so really enjoy that sort of rubbing. Yeah, so there's a lot going on here. You've got of course, the harmonies that you need to play with around, but you also got the voicing, which I think is very interesting. Can we just do a little bit before that, getting into it? So maybe from here? Yeah, Sion, sorry to interrupt, I know it's annoying. For me, I would not try to mi, ro, la, fa, no? Mi, ro, la, question, and then you carry on with the next section, yeah? Yeah, nice, but as an experiment again, can we just try to not use any vibrato? Because also what is a shame here, I heard quite a lot on vibrato on this one, and then of course, this one there is none because it's an open string. Drama. Thank you. Really well done. Really well done. So here we arrive at the dominant. Yeah. So G minor. Now we're in D minor. So all we've been building up to that D minor since basically the section we started from here. So make sure that when you arrive, where is it that you release a little bit too much tension for me? Oh, here. All the way to here, yeah? You kind of released a little bit, re, do, si, do, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, re. Still really tense, yeah? Maybe from here? Yeah, very nice, very nice. I quite like to point out some of the sort of, they're almost like hidden basses. So you've got which resolves onto the E flat. Yeah, so again, sometimes they're obviously on a downbeat or on the beat. Sometimes they're hidden in the middle of the group, so it's quite interesting to bring them out sometimes. Here, I personally quite like to do it slightly differently and a little bit more detached. So after, especially if the most dramatic chord is probably the one that you just played, this one. So. A little bit more like sort of exploratory. Suddenly, I think direction is important, but sometimes being a little bit more sort of explorative or not so obvious can also be interesting. Yeah. So for me, that's a place where you can maybe step back a little bit and let it happen slowly, and then see where it's going to get you. So let's take from here. Yeah, so for really well done. For a chord like this, do sol mi la, maybe insist a little bit more on the bass. Do sol fa mi la. Yeah, so don't spread your chord all the same way. Yeah, so sometimes you're going to go straight to the top. Sometimes you're going to insist a little bit on the dissonance. Sometimes you're going to want to stay a little bit more on the basis of the chord. Can you just take a little bit before that? Do, sol, mi, la, even the chord before. Yeah, so here soon, what's happening? Something quite similar we've seen. Exactly. But so again, I think for me, again, question, not necessarily connected. So, and then treat them, really think of the viola di gamba on these ones. Once more. La di da da, yeah. It's a little bit quick. You can't teach two people. I teach at the Royal Academy. I've got a class of about 10 students. They're all very different. They all come from different backgrounds, ethnical backgrounds, cultural backgrounds. They all have different abilities. So there's not, I would say there's not one way of teaching. You have to adapt your teaching, and whether it's the physicality or even, you know, whether you pass on your musical sense in different ways. People are receptive in different ways. But I think what is really important is what I try to do is to give my students some tools, like I've been given when I was younger, to try to work out how things work and to try to sometimes make things easier purely for mechanics. We can, you know, sometimes it's very daunting when we start a very difficult piece to think, oh my God, this is so difficult, how am I going to get around this? Well, there are ways of going around this by just taking things into sections or into, you analyze the different difficulties and then you go through each difficulty and then you put them together. So that's one way of doing it. It's also trying to make things as easy as you can with the mechanics. So that's our role as teachers, to try to teach all this. But I think what is really important, what I try to do is to make them question what they are looking at, what they're trying to perform, and how they want to do it. Take from yeah, you can still take a little bit more time. It felt a little bit rushed. You can still take a little bit more time, but thinking that I'm not going to add on purpose an extra bit. Everybody does that, yeah, which I think is a shame. Really well done. Shall we have a quick look at the fugue a little bit? So let's start it from the beginning. The other thing I wanted to mention in the fugue that, yes, here. Make sure you end up with this one. I heard, yeah, I heard the top. We don't want to hear the top. A reverse, yes. Yeah. Again, from the beginning. Yeah. So I think the key for doing a little bit more of the shape we talked about, the key really is not to mark too much the arrival before each new entry. So at the moment, although you started very well and I could see the direction towards the middle of the phrase, I still heard an accent arriving. So you did. This is the one we don't want accentuated, yeah? So pom 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 yam pom 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 pom. And then also by doing this, it means that each new entry of the subject is going to be very clear, because of course you're going to give a little bit more, yeah? That's it. Yeah, so really, really nice. Again, from the moment that we're a little bit freer, so try to use, again, all the things that we talked about in the adagio, sort of the freedom, the different way of approaching the string. Try to use it a little bit more and maybe a little bit less left hand. Yeah, a little bit less. At the moment, if you want to bring a note, straight away you get some vibrato. I would do, for the moment, avoid that and use a little bit more, lean a little bit more, for example. You can be free here. Lean a little bit more on the notes that you want to bring out, and again use a little bit more speed or depth to your sound. Yeah, can we just do from yeah. Yeah. So be ya pa 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 non ti te to to ta. Yeah, yeah. So this is where for me the trouble starts. Yeah. So you did that very much at the point, really legato, and then really spiccato. So you somehow need to unify that. So maybe start this one. I do all tapapam. You don't have to change that, but do them a little bit lighter. Yeah, without accentuating them though. That's it. Yeah, and not rush. So. Better. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So let's skip that. For you, in this fugue, there are not very many places where we can be singing. For me, there are one or two places. Can you think about one? It's still the same material as. Yeah, this is more like we basically spreading chords. But there's a place for me. This. Yeah, this is clearly singing. Yeah, if we want to be expressive here without using too much vibrato, so suddenly we don't sound like Brahms concerto, we should try to just lean on these notes a bit. So don't try to make them sound completely even, but long first one and short second one. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, but Seun, you do the one on the down very well, the one on the up, completely forgot about it, so... Yeah, all of them. Exactly. So after that, when you control it even better, you can decide that some of them you're not going to lean so much on them so it doesn't sound too systematical. But I really think this is a place where you can use a little bit, if we can sort of find something a little bit more singing, then that's more interesting.
너무 좋았고 이제 선생님께서 정말 바하에 대해서 너무 깊은 지식이 있으신 게 너무 느껴져가지고 1악장에서는 이제 제가 선생님께서 비브라토를 너무 많이 이용한다고 말씀해 주셨어요. 그래가지고 비브라토 대신에 이제 화일로도 그 감정을 표현할 수 있게끔 한번 비브라토 없이 연습 많이 해보라고 이제 해주셔서 그게 너무 많이 도움이 됐고, 그 다음에 퓨가 할 때는 그 이제 처음에 메인 서브젝트가 제가 이제 빰빰빰빰 따다다 이렇게 생각을 하고 있었는데 빰빰빰빰 빠라란 난딴 그 마지막이 강조된다고 하셔서 근데 그거를 제가 되게 놓치고 있었던 부분이 되게 많았던 것 같아서 근데 그거를 항상 매번 짚어주셔서 거기에 대해서 조금 더 생각하면서 해야 될 것 같습니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 바이올린을 전공하고 있는 김영서라고 합니다. 제가 마스터 클래스 받을 곡은 생쌍 바이올린 콘체르토 3번 3악장인데요. 이 곡은 바이올린의 서주로 시작해가지고 서정적인 멜로디와 명쾌한 종결로 마무리되기 때문에 되게 생쌍의 음악적 특징을 온전히 느낄 수 있는 곡이라고 생각합니다. 제가 생쌍을 공부하고 있는 와중에 되게 생쌍의 조예가 깊으신 교수님께 마스터 클래스를 받을 수 있다는 기회가 있다고 하여서 신청을 하게 되었습니다.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. You know, this is the hardest when we have to play like this, a concerto, and we're playing on our own in front of some people and in front of cameras. This is the hardest. So well done, because this is not easy. I think you have a lot of passion and a lot of fougue and energy, which is great and which you need for this music. But I think it's also important to counterbalance this with moments where you're going to be able to relax a little bit more. Yeah? At the moment, I felt like everything was a little bit under tension because of nerves and because of the circumstances, and also because you were not playing with piano. But I think you need to learn somehow to find places, and we'll identify them in the music, where you're going to be able to breathe a little bit, breathe, and also not be so intense. Intensity is great, energy and passion is great, but if it's not balanced with moments where we're going to feel, it's almost like if you have an elastic, for example, and you pull the elastic and you have the tension, you keep the tension and you keep stretching, what's going to happen? The elastic is going to snap. Yeah? So suddenly it's going to either collapse or it's going to snap, which is a little bit what we had. Yeah? So sometimes you were so much under tension that you couldn't maintain that tension anymore, and then we had a little bit sort of mishappenings, which is completely understandable. So I want to work on a few things with you in small sections and possibly do a little bit of slow work as well. Now, this music for me is actually very important. When I was a little bit younger than you, I think I was about 13, I was very lucky to meet very famous and old violinist, French violinist, was called Gabriel Bouillon. I think so. I was 13 and he must have been about 84, 85. He was really quite old, but still incredibly sprightly and energetic and all that. And he, as a young violinist, when he was in his late teens, so when he was about 18, had played with Saint-Saëns. Saint-Saëns was playing with him at the piano. So he had toured, I think they did a tour to America. So it was incredible to have this link with Saint-Saëns. And I worked on this, actually. I worked on this concerto with him, and I worked also on the Havanaise. So this is the music that I've since a young age, I've always felt very passionate about, because I had this very lucky link with Saint-Saëns in a way. Once removed, but I was very lucky. A few little questions first. For example, when you do your opening, you notice that your arpeggios didn't work. The first, these ones. But I was quite surprised that when you play them the second time, it did work. You actually didn't do the same fingering. You did two different fingerings. Second time it works. The second time you did this fingering. Yeah, which works. For me, this is very secure. But the first time, show me the fingering that you do at the beginning, slowly. So this is much more difficult, because you do, and then you have a big jump here. The other one that you do the second time is much more secure. Much more secure. So I would advise you to do twice the same and twice the one that you do the second time. Yeah? I think sometimes when things didn't work for you, it was mostly, well, it was both the left hand and the bow, but quite often it was because you didn't plan in advance. Yeah? So you arrived a little bit like without really, for me, it looked like you hadn't planned, for example, where you're going to play in the bow. For example, all these ones where you should be off the string and you were very much on the string. So I think all these ones should be really off the string. Yeah? And quite often you were a little bit too much at the point, therefore you couldn't be light enough here. So that's one of many, but there will be others. Also, you know when you've got these passages, do you know what marking is underneath this? Do you remember? I know you're playing from memory, so, but do you remember? Dolcissimo. Dolce already would be, he wants it very soft, he wants it very delicate. Dolcissimo, he wants it even more than, he really wants it. And you play it quite a lot of, very intense. No, this is one of the places where you can really let it happen a little bit, stand back a little bit, and relax a little bit. Yeah? So maybe not so intense with the vibrato. Try to work more on your connections between the notes, between the fingers, than trying to vibrate every single note. Yeah? So we'll do a little bit of work on that. So let's do it again from the beginning, and then I'll stop you. From the beginning. Yeah, let's try this fingering. I think this is better. And I think so. The first one. A little bit of vibrato if you can. A little bit. Yeah, nice. And make sure that as you go down the register, so. You keep the intensity, so it almost like you've got a crescendo running through this. And I can't really see your left hand from where I am. I mean, but are you putting the fifth, or are you putting the fifth here? No, you're not. I can see that you're lifting. I think you should put the fifth. I find that you're working too hard with the left hand. And this is one example, for example, something quite easy. You have to produce a lot of effort because you do something which is unnecessary. Here, if you put I don't have to move my finger. You see what I mean? Yeah. Once more, from the beginning. Nice. Okay, you don't want to change your fingering. I think this is a mistake, but let's carry on. Let's carry on. Yeah, so let's try this fingering. Yeah, you know when you've got a finger, when you've got shift like this and they go very fast, this is really difficult. What can help you is to make sure that you release the pressure of the finger just before you shift. So I release. Yeah, so the movement is a little bit lighter. If I don't release, if I keep the pressure, we're going to hear it because my finger is still very, very heavy. If I release, you can actually see my finger being lifted from the string. If I release, therefore I'm lighter. Yeah, so let's do it really, really slowly for you to understand the gesture. Really slowly, so release. No, you're not releasing. I can see it, you're not releasing. So I want really you, after you play the B, to release the pressure. So you lift, let's be, si, mi, sol, si, lift, release the pressure, and then put it again. That's it, exactly. That's it, once more. That's it. So what you need to do after that, because it's going to go very fast, so carry on releasing the pressure, and then shift a little bit later and a little bit quicker. Release and then shift really quickly, but a little bit later. Yeah, and when you practice something like this, do you practice it going up and down or not? Do you practice and do you do that or? And then. So slowly. So treat one shift at a time. So yeah, so even don't play the B. So and again, apply what I've just said. So the release, either just shifting up or shifting down. Yeah. Better. Yeah, but make sure that when you shift a little bit quicker. And then next one. Yeah, so you're better at releasing the pressure when you go up, not so good when you come down. Exactly the same thing. Si, sol, mi, release, si, sol, mi. Yeah? So don't forget to lighten up when you go down as well. Better? Be careful, you'll play a little bit sharp. Yeah, so check with the open string. Mi, mi, sol, si, si, sol, mi, mi. Yeah? Yeah. So let's take from sol, from here. From here. Yeah, not bad at all, not bad at all. This is better than the first time that you played it. I personally don't do the first one. I do this one. I do on and up, and then after that I don't do. But it's just a small detail. And make sure that yeah, so you really take some time and you really make it happen. This one actually is quite nice to hear it. Yeah, for once we can really enjoy it. Yeah, again from the same place. Nice. Nice. Okay, you don't give yourself a chance so you need to to use more bow, otherwise you do so short that he can't speak. Yeah, a little bit more bow. Better. Again. Second one. Better. Yeah. So now the theme. Yeah, not bad at all. I like the energy that you have here. I think that works really well. So I think so. We've got a series of triplet, and then I think they can be played with different character and different intensity. First of all, I think your first note is a little bit short. This one, not too short. Here, I stay the poem. Then in the middle. And then here longer. A little bit more. So it's almost like the first triplets are a little bit shorter and a bit more playful. And then the last ones are a little bit more triumphant. You gotta come. It's almost like you've conquered something. Yeah, there's something quite proud and quite a bit more triumphant. Yeah. Yes. Perfect. Yeah, these ones are not quite precise. I think you're stuck a little bit at the point. When you arrive here, I would say don't be. I do them the other way. I do them on a down. It doesn't really matter what you do, but make sure that if you're too much at the point, we feel a bit stuck. So I would do them a little bit more towards the middle. Yeah, but what we need to hear, so it's not an accent on the beginning of the triplets. Yeah, perfect. So, do, re, mi, si. And then 2 beats, la, si, do, si, re, si, fa. La, si, do, si. So again, yeah, all the way to the F sharp. Yeah, and yeah, again. Carry on. Yeah, here would be a little bit shorter. All this is really playful. And then here a little bit more triumphant, yeah? Short, short. Yeah, last very nice, very nice last note. Make sure that, I don't know how it's written in your music, but the original is actually ta-ya, it's actually slurred. I don't do it slurred, I do like you, I do it separate. But I think if we do it separate, then we still need to have a little bit more length on it. Ta-ya, da-ga-da-da, yeah? So it's not too accentuated. It's quite a lot of vibrato if you can, but not necessarily an accent, otherwise it's going to sound a little bit too harsh, yeah? So try to connect the F sharp to the A a little bit more. Better? Yeah, you get it confused. Let's do it again from the beginning, from tarim, tira. So. Be careful, I still hear da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. I want to hear da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-dum. Yeah? That's it. Short? Much better, much better.
제가 연주하면은 너무 긴장돼서 흥분이 돼가지고 너무 과할 때가 많은데 그거를 좀 절제하는 방법을 잘 배운 것 같아서 진짜 큰 도움이 되는 것을 얻은 것 같아서 너무 좋았습니다.
To realize that there's room for everybody on this world as a musician. It's a bit like an ecosystem. You have, there's a room for big time soloists, there's a room for fantastic chamber musicians, there's room for teachers. Even better if you can do a little bit of everything, but you can be successful in lots of ways as a musician as long as you keep your love for music and your desire to learn more. I mean, our job is basically a research job. Sometimes I think I'm constantly searching for an answer, constantly searching for a better sound, for understanding their composer. Sometimes I still don't understand. I'm trying to, not always successfully, but I'm trying to. So it's this constant search which I think is fascinating and which keeps us going as musicians.